1,000, you definitely have a problem. So if you're going 5,000 miles between oil changes, and between oil changes you got to add 5 quarts of oil, so there's something going on. It's not leaking externally, being consumed internally. Worn piston rings, excessive blow by. Valve seals and guides will consume oil. Blue smoke is a sign of what? Oil. Excessive oil getting burned internally. How do you determine the difference between rings and oil seals? Now, in a lot of these cases, you get a car that comes in the shop with 168,000 miles on it and blue smoke's coming out of the tailpipe. What's the answer? What do you need? Maybe. Might be valve seals. You got 168,000 miles on the car. Are you going to pull the engine out and put rings in it and leave the seals? No. You need an engine overhaul. You need an engine, or you need a new car. It's worn out. That's going to be the repair. If you've got a car, you're working at a dealership, and it's got blue smoke coming out of the tailpipe, and it's in warranty, the manufacturer's not going to pay you to put an engine in the car to repair the valve, overhaul the whole engine. They want you to diagnose what is wrong with this car and fix that thing and that thing only. Because around your year, Gulf, but they had a problem with the 2-liter engines consuming too much oil. They had bad rings in some of them. And we had to do oil consumption tests, and it was bad. We had to put rings in the engine. But how do you tell the difference between rings and valve seals? Diagnose them. I'm picking on the Volkswagen because I work on them all the time. That's all. If the blue smoke comes out under deceleration, it's most likely valve seals. Because that's when the high vacuum draws that oil down past the valve seal and the valve guide, and that oil is burned in. If it smokes on acceleration, that's most likely piston rings. Now you're going to go ahead and you're going to do a compression test and a wet test, and that should also further indicate you got excessive blow by. What other testing you do? Dry. Well, a dry and wet compression test, if it goes up significantly, you got a ring problem for sure. You can also do a cylinder leakage test, in which case if you hear the air hissing out of the oil filler cap or the dipstick tube, it's blowing past the rings. External leaks, gaskets, and seals. Oil usage increases engine wear. Oil usage increases engine wear because the oil level goes down, the oil temperature goes up, the oil doesn't lubricate as well. Common external leaks. All the gaskets and seals in the engine, except for the cooling system gaskets and seals, are common places for oil to leak, and all of them will leak. Sludge. What's sludge? Burnt oil. Yes, sir. Exactly. It's cooked. It's cooked motor oil, oxidized motor oil. Cooked. Pour a pan full of motor oil in a pan on the stove and heat it up and cook it, and mother's going to kick you. But it will turn into sludge. It will thicken up and turn into a paste, a gel-like paste. Well, when the oil is not liquid and it turns into a gel, it doesn't circulate. It sticks to stuff and it continues to bake and continues to bake. Anybody seen a sludged up engine? No. Seen sludge under a valve cover? Nasty, thick, grease looking. It's not motor oil. You will. Have patience. It'll block up the oil passages. Parts that are supposed to have oil splashed to them, it won't. They'll be covered up with sludge and they won't get the oil that they need. Signs of sludge could be low oil pressure, increased oil consumption, increased emissions, poor drivability. There's a big sign of sludge and plugged up That's when you're doing an oil change. And you pull the oil filler cap off to put the oil in, you see that thick, black, grease, nasty looking stuff in top of the engine.
Nice.
There's some sludge.
Oh, that's the thing.
You're not going to see it.
Go back to this.
You're working on an engine. You have an oil pressure problem on the engine. You've gone through your testing. You've determined that the bearings are bad in the engine, and you're going to have to put new bearings in the engine. When you start taking this engine apart and you find sludge, you need to look very closely at all the components in the engine for wear. That sludge is blocking stuff up. Preventive lubrication. There may be more damage than just the crankshaft bearings. You look at your camshaft, see that's not worn. Timing chain and guides can be extremely worn. The sludge will certainly block the oil. The oil that a timing chain gets is oil that runs back. It's on its way back to the oil pan. And if it's all turned to sludge, they're not getting lubrication. Ready? You good? Excellent. There's a picture of what sludge looks like. That's bad, but I've seen it 100 times worse. I've seen when you take the valve cover off the engine, the cam cover off the engine, and it looks like the cam cover is still there. It's just packed and shaped just like the cover. Just like a jello mold.
How do you get that out? Just ask me that. Good question.
Just the grease on it.
How do you get sludge out?
Doesn't the grease on it?
Well, there are flushing compounds that you can use. There's flushing compounds you can use to break down the sludge and flush it out of the engine.
Some oils have a sludge resistant.
All oils have stuff in them that makes them sludge resistant. All oils do. There might be some that think they have more, but all oils have stuff in them that makes them sludge resistant. And they have detergents in them that help clean the sludge out. What causes that sludge? What causes it to burn? Plug PCV system. PCV system. You talked about PCV system in here yet?
Yeah.
What's it do? Huh? Airflow through the crankcase. It allows air to circulate through the crankcase. The fumes, the blow-by that's inside the engine, down there around the crankshaft in that area, and up in the valve cover, is basically a vacuum cleaning system that circulates the air. Positive crankcase ventilation. It forces the air to be ventilated through the system. Plugged up PCV. How do you check it?
Doesn't shake.
Huh?
I did one the other day when I took out the PCB valve.
You shake it.
Yeah.
You hear it move. It's not stopped up.
But when I did it, it was stopped up.
One of the first signs you're going to see of a stopped up PCV system or malfunctioning PCV system is in the air filter. You do an oil change, you check the guy's filter because if his filter is dirty, that means he needs maintenance, and you're going to sell him maintenance. You're going to sell him an air filter, 30,000 mile service, whatever. The air filter has got oil on it, motor oil on it. The reason it has motor oil on it is because the PCV system stopped up. PCV valve in the top of the engine should be taking this off back into the intake where it goes into the engine and gets burned. The other end of the PCV system goes into the air filter where it draws clean air into the engine. If this gets stopped up, the hose gets broken, clogged up, the PCV valve is stopped up, the blow-by past these pistons is still building up in here. And now it's simply going to back up and go out the in-way. It's going to be depositing oil on the old air filter. So you see oil on the air filter, there's a problem. Yes?
I seen that problem when I was working on my friend's car on Friday.
You got oil?
Yeah,
And the oil
that oil spot on his filter. And it was on the 5.7 liter, what's that, the engine that you have?
You look at the PCV system. Replace the valve and check the hoses and make sure the hoses aren't plugged up or broken.
Well, I cleared out the hoses and I cleaned the PCBs.
That should do it.
And everything shook and I made a clear passage and went right back to the intake. But is there anything else to help clear out the sludge, or should I help him do it?
It's got sludge in the engine?
Well, the PCB bottles all sludged up.
Put a new one in. Put a new one in.
What I'm saying is, what about the rest of the cans and stuff like that? Is there anything?
Sludge inside the engine?
Yeah. Because since now we're talking about it, and I know it's
Change the oil, and maybe suggest, my recommendation would be to change the oil and step it up and change it more often. What causes sludge, extended oil change interval. It's a big, you don't change it often enough. Now, there's detergent in the oil, so if you change, say to your customer, your friend, instead of going 3,000 miles, let's change it every 2,000 miles for like 4 or 5 times. We'll get more fresh detergent in there, and more of the stuff cleaned out. Flushing the engine. They sell chemicals you can put in the engine to flush the engine. The way they all work is you drain out a quart of oil, or if it's a quart low, you add this solvent to the oil. Then you start it up and run it. It'll save half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever. You run the engine. This solvent dissolves the sludge and breaks it down. And then you change the filter. And you're supposed, almost all of them will instruct you to take the oil pan off, clean out the oil pan, and clean out the oil pickup screen. Nobody ever does that. They just do the flush, they drain out the solvent in the oil, put a new filter on, and fill it back up. The problem and the danger there is, and many manufacturers prohibit it, in other words, they'll void the warranty if you do it to them. The problem is that the solvents do break down the sludge, but they don't break it all down in 15 or 20 or 35 minutes. So whatever got broke down is down in the oil pan. If you did it right, you took the oil pan off and you cleaned the screen, you're probably okay. But you may not be. There's still sludge up here. It's now got solvent on it. It's starting to break down, but it hasn't quite made it yet. Now you put the new oil in, you go driving it, then gradually it's going to continue to break off and flake off. Plug up the screen, oil light comes on, Joe customer drives it back to the shop, gets about a mile away, and it stops running. They call it, hey, quit running. Now the engine's locked up. Why? Because you flushed the engine. That was the cause of the engine locking up. So flushing is to be done, boy, with a huge grain of caution. Something you want to avoid if all possible. And you also need to know which manufacturers, Honda, Nissan, Toyota, General Motors, Ford, say do not use flushing compounds in their engines. If you do, and the car happens to be under warranty, you're going to avoid whatever warranty they have. Anybody know what a silent warranty is, or the manufacturer will, as a courtesy, will extend warranties on a lot of things. Like if you bought a new Honda, 50,000, 60,000 mile engine warranty, and you've taken care of it, and you show you did your oil changes, and the engine locks up or has a problem at 78,000 miles, quite often Honda will pick up the tab or part of the tab. But if anywhere in there you had it to Jiffy Lube and they did an engine flush on it, you're on your own. They won't touch it. They won't help you at all. Even if it's still under warranty. If they find out it was flushed, they're off the hook. See you later. That's Jiffy Lube then. They do that. So flushing is something you've got to be very leery of. My recommendation for your friend would be to change his oil every 1,500 or 2,000 miles or 3 or 4 times. Get fresh oil in there and gradually move that sludge out as the detergent and the oil can pick it up and handle it. Sludge caused by plugged PCB systems because you have more combustion particles and byproducts and temperature going into the crankcase, going into the airspace, cooking that oil. It's not being ventilated. It's cooking the oil. Cooking it. Extended oil change intervals. Big, major cause of sludge buildup in the engine. Low viscosity oil, if you use too low viscosity oil, why would that cause sludge? Why would that cause sludge?
Possibly on the oil because it's too thick.
No, it's too thin. Low viscosity.
Yeah, low viscosity.
How's it going to make sludge?
By not taking out the oil, like keeping it.
What did I say? What did you repeat?
It has no.
What's it going to do to the oil?
It's gonna have
Go
no
cook
stuff.
it.
It's not cooked.
It's going to cook it. You already said it. All you need to do is say it again. You said it, you didn't learn it. Write it down. Cook it. Why is it going to cook it? Because low viscosity oil is going to run hotter. Higher temperature. Temperature does it. High operating temperatures. Forget about lean mixtures. It doesn't happen anymore. Older engines, carburetors, lean mixtures would result in high temperatures also. High operating temperatures. Overheating can cause marginal overheating. If the engine is supposed to be running at 230 degrees, but the radiator is a little bad, a little clogged up, there's a little scale buildup inside the engine, it's not cooling quite as well as it should, and it's running 245, pushing 250. It's still not overheated, but it's running a little hotter. It's going to form sludge faster. Yeah, we already talked about flushing the system. Solvent to the engine, cleaning and draining, may help remove sludge. Refer to manufacturer service information before flushing, and you should definitely refer to the manufacturer service information before flushing, because if the manufacturer says don't do it, you're putting your neck on the chopping line if you do it. And something bad happens, and they come back and go, well, look, Honda says do not do it, and you did it. They're going to expect you, your shop, whatever, to pay for their engine if it has a problem. What about flushing a perfectly good engine that doesn't have any sludge in it? Doesn't need it, but if it doesn't have any sludge in it, you don't really need to sell a flush, but that's not going to hurt anything.
It's like flushing the toilet. It doesn't need to be good.
Right. It's like flushing the toilet, it's got nothing but clean water in it. It's got nothing but dog water in it. Well, got a dog. Dog drink out of the toilet? I don't let my dog drink out of the toilet either. But you leave the toilet seat up, the dog drinks out of the toilet. Good reason to flush it. California now is recommending people only flush the toilet